This is it, Doctors Panel. Here, let's hear some applause for him as we bring him out to stage. Doctor of Chiropractic, Tony Smith.
So good.
Vascular Surgeon, Dr. Larry Prusant. Urologist, Dr. Manny Espinoza. Family Medicine, Dr. Erica Espinoza. Optometrist, Dr. Karen Vanoy. Anesthesiologist, Dr. Rachel Maurice. Cardiologist, Dr. Teodoro Mercado. And MD, Dr. Ed Pomector. Now your host, your three-star presidential, Steve Merritt.
Let's go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, doctors. Give them all a big hand for being here today. Grab a seat, everyone. Okay, we are so excited to have this doctor's panel. Are you excited? They are so looking forward to every one of you, Sharon, because we're so excited about this technology. What we like to learn more about what we got. So we're going to move quickly because we want to get this information to all of you. Dr. Vanoy is an optometrist, all right? And she is going to tell us where she's from and what makes the eye so receptive to the phototherapy technology.
Well,
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for being here today. And I'm an optometrist in Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow.
And so I've been practicing for almost 30 years. The eye is remarkably receptive to phototherapy because it is the most sensitive to light, and it also has a high demand for energy because it has so much mitochondria, because the eye is constantly converting light into vision. So it's a remarkable thing that's happening there. So what that means is that phototherapy, when we're talking about phototherapy, we're talking about the organ in the body that is most adapted to phototherapy because that's where our vision comes from and the light comes into our body. So wow. It's amazing.
I love that an optometrist is that passionate about what the X39 can do for all of us. So and the testimonies we've had with eyes is incredible. So many. It brings tears to our eyes. So thank you. That's a good start. So we already see that it's already a great opportunity to talk to people, and nobody knows. I mean, I remember Gene and I, when we went in to have our eye appointment, they told us on the same day that our eyes reversed in aging, but we didn't notice it because it just like you lose your eyesight, you don't notice that you gained it back so much as well, right?
Well, because the mitochondria are so important in how our vision happens, and as aging happens, we know that the mitochondria are starting to not function properly. So the aging processes that happen in our eye, whether it's that we need glasses to read, or if that's we're developing cataracts, or we're having decreased vision because the retina is no longer functioning properly, it's because the mitochondria are no longer functioning properly. So the X39 is poised perfectly because it's going to help with the mitochondria functioning more properly. And the mitochondria are so important for vision, and if without it, we can't see.
Wow.
So
thank you for sharing. We'll come back to you. All right, guys, this is exciting. We have Dr. Maurice here. Rachel is our friend. Anybody on Rachel's team here? Know Rachel? Okay, this is exciting. All right, Rachel, working as a conventionally trained medical doctor for 30 years, how did you come to believe this technology was scientifically legit?
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm honored to be on this panel. So my belief in this actually started before I came across the patches.
Wow.
Because when I left, as Gina mentioned yesterday, when I left my practice, I walked away, I actually started to learn a lot of things that I had not been taught in medicine, and completely shifted and crumbled the entire foundation of how I understood the body to work. And by that, I mean that every single physiologic process that takes place in the body runs on light.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. Before all of the biochemistry, light is upstream. And so I started learning all about phototherapy, and then I was introduced to the patch, and I'll be honest, by somebody that I didn't actually trust. And so it just goes to show that there's relationships, that's what is really important when you're introducing the patches. It took another year through a connection, and I'm going to call out to Diane Hunt. I was introduced to her.
Wow.
She was a cardiac surgical nurse for 20 years, so there was some trust there. And she showed me not just stories, but investigations. And my mom was in a place where her doctors were talking about heart surgery, and having spent 25 years in the operating room, I've seen just about every complication under the sun. And so if we could avoid that, that's what we wanted to do. And there was absolutely no downside. And the studies are there, whether you want to believe in the studies or not, that's another story.
Yeah.
But I just saw results with her, and I knew there was no downside whatsoever, and I understood light, and there was no turning back.
It's incredible. Can you believe? You got to really respect what you're hearing here on this doctor's panel. Thanks, Rachel. Now, let's switch to Dr. Priesson. And the reason why it was amazing what you just said, because relationships are everything. Gene and I had a relationship with Dr. Priesson and his wife Leslie for over 30 years when we called him. So this is interesting. We never were in business before, but we always wanted to be in some type of a business, and we respected each other. So when we called him, yes, he was skeptical, just like Rachel was. We should hope and pray that our doctors are skeptical, but a relationship usually makes them curious. So, Dr. Priesson, this is interesting. With all this emerging interest in injectable peptides, why is X39 safer and more reliable?
Well, peptides are small groups of amino acids linked together, and they are chemical messengers. They're kind of like the key that unlocks different biochemical processes in the body. And there are people, really it's a rage now among young people, to inject peptides into the body. The problem is that if you look at these vials of peptides, it says on the label, for research only, not for human use. So you really don't know exactly what you're getting. You don't know what contaminants or how it was manufactured, and you don't really know the proper doses for your body. So you can get into complications. About 25 years ago, I was learning how to lift weights from a Mr. Universe, and I was taking synthetic human growth hormone. And I developed side effects from it. I got carpal tunnel syndrome, and I had to quit taking those injections. So it's easy to see how complications can ensue. But the beauty of the X39 invention is that it creates an autologous copper peptide. And the autologous means that your body's making it itself. So it's natural, and your body knows exactly how much of it to take, how much it needs to use for these different processes. Some of these people that are injecting do something called stacking, where they inject a whole bunch at the same time, and you really just don't know what the outcomes are going to be at this particular time. So it's really a function of balance in the body. And the beauty of the X39, I think, from the testimonials that I've seen, and I've looked at them with a lot of scrutiny, have been nothing short of fantastic. And I really kind of feel that this particular invention is up there with air conditioning and toilet paper.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thanks, Larry. Dr. Priesson. All right, Dr. Espinoza. All right, we have two of them down here, okay? We've got Erica and Manny. I think you're on Danny and Diane's team, right?
We are.
All right. Okay.
Best leaders.
And they're both in practice. Maybe you could just tell us about your practice a bit, but what made two practicing physicians take a serious look at LifeWave?
So I'm Manny Espinosa. We're down from the Valley of Texas. I'm a urologist. My practice is primarily men's health. I'm very passionate about that because as the man goes in the family, so does the rest of the family. And it's crazy because a lot of times in network marketing, it's usually the females that see it first. And yet the ones who really need to get hold of it is the men in the family, because we've been called to be the priest of our home. We've been called to do that. If we're unhealthy, then how are we going to take care of our wives? And I learned that from my dad. My dad made a promise to my mom 58 years ago. He said, I'm going to take care of her for the rest of my life. So he works out 6 days a week. He's 78, and he's able to take care of her. So I had that.
Wow. It's incredible.
So for me, I went to University of Colorado, and they were one of the first universities to really start looking at stem cells way back in the 90s. And so when I looked at that, I was always interested in stem cell, but you have to be careful with stem cells, the source and the pricing and the affordability. And there's a lot of people who have tried to, they've injected the stem cells into certain areas and they do get some effect, but how many people can afford $7,500, $15,000?
Right.
And so when LifeWave came around, that's like the best thing, to allow your own body, autologous, just like doctor said, to have your own body turn on the genes that are already there. We were meant to live forever. We messed it up, but God has given us the ability to be able to get the technology now, which is what David Schmidt did. I believe God gave that to him to be able to allow us to be able to have something on our hands that is so profound that it's even beyond your mind, that this is not medicine, it's a patch that's going on, and it's turning on your own genes and allowing the body to do what it was called to do.
Wow. Erica, you want to add to something?
So for me, I have an aesthetic practice. I also practice integrative medicine. And so, yes, I'm family medicine board certified, but I don't practice family medicine anymore because we are the people that think outside the box. And so for us, when I was introduced to the patch, we were actually introduced 3 years ago, I was really skeptical. I said, I don't know what you're getting, because he was the one that decided to start this. And we always do things together. Married couples do things together. And so we started it, and I didn't feel anything for 90 days. I'm 47 years old, and so for me, they said, for every decade of life, you need to be on it at least 1 month. I said, okay, great. So I gave it 3 months. By 3 months, I was starting to feel way better in my energy, overall wellness. I was sleeping better, so I was getting more of that restorative sleep, REM sleep. I was having dreams again. And so for me, it's been just, revolutionary for me just over the last 3 years. And we made a decision 3 months ago to jump all in the business. Danny came down to help us with our church, because we're also pastors of a church. And he said, you really need to revisit the business side of this. And I said, you know what? God told us we were going to pay off our new house with something. And I couldn't understand at that point what we were going to pay the new house off with, because we both work full time and we don't have more time in the day. But I am loving this. I am so grateful to Danny and Diane McDaniel for all they have done. I mean, they have just been amazing leaders for us, and we're excited about the future.
Guys, we're excited to have you on the team, and I'm really excited about what you just said, because you believe in the product, you've seen results, and you've got so much credibility being doctors. I believe that we need more doctors like are on this panel, like Rachel here, that want to teach doctors how to have an exit strategy, because they work so hard and they got so many credibility. It's like amazing when you go to these offices and all the certificates they have on the wall. So they know how to win, they know what to do. They just need to understand how to duplicate themselves and work with the system as busy as their practices are, and put us to work. We're here ready to work and help everybody like Danny and Diane and the team. So this is exciting that you're leading this charge, because even in your church, so many people need this blessing, and not only the health, but the finances. So thank you for being here. Okay, now I've got my Puerto Rican friend. If you could pass it on to Dr. Mercado, all right? And me and Dr. Mercado, we met each other on the beach in the Bahamas. Am I right?
That's correct.
He's a cardiologist, and he has the same excitement about this technology as all these other doctors. Were you skeptical, though, when you first heard of the X39, and what changed your mind?
Absolutely. I've been a physician for almost 40 years and a cardiologist for 30. So we've been trained to being skeptical our lives. So we are doing things that are clinically based, and we follow guidelines. So technologies that are shared to us will make us be more skeptical. The first person that shared that technology with me, actually a patient from my office that's been 10 years with me, and I had some curiosity, but I was skeptical because I knew what stem cells were, but I had heard before nothing about X39. So I told her, listen, bring me some information so I can read it. That was never done. To my surprise, the second person was my father. My father is a retired brain surgeon. He was already on the technology before me. So it was very surprising to me. And I said, no, Dad. He wanted to share it with a relative. And I said, he's with a psychiatrist, he's with a neurologist, he's already in treatment. I don't know what the X39 has, so I have to find out. And the third patient, it was a patient, third person, she patched me. I was having severe back pain that day, like 8 out of 10 intensity. And in 30 minutes, my pain went down so dramatically. I was like astonished. I wasn't believing what was happening. I said, this has to be from upstairs. So I signed that same day, and following 6 weeks, I was less pain, more energy. I started training again, lost 20 pounds. I love cycling. I do endurance cycling, so I did an event that I did 300 miles in 3 days in Puerto Rico or on the island at the age of 63 with a lot of medical conditions. So I was blessed. 2 months later, I discontinued a medication, a pain modulator that I was using for 10 years. Wow. So it's been a blessing.
Wow.
This month is 2 years using the technology.
Okay. Now, thank you for that testimony. And he meant to say that he had some discomfort. And we want to make sure that we're not saying the patch heals anyone or cures anyone. We all know this. And we're all learning. He's in Puerto Rico, so they're fired up. You know, that's the problem. We're all excited. So I get excited times myself. But thank you for that testimony. And you can see, I love that every doctor up here has been skeptical. This is very interesting. But a relationship usually is the one that got him started, even though his dad couldn't sponsor him. All right? Thanks for sharing. Dr. Tony, can somebody get him the mic? Dr. Tony Smith in the back there, right?
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Tony, all right, I know you're in California. What is the significance of 4,000 genes resetting?
Well, so I know everybody, we get a little scientific up here, and I get excited about that stuff. This is not for you to recreate in your presentations, all right? Yeah. Keep it super simple, keep it basic. But this is just so you know what you have your hands on, the significance of what you have your hands on. So I just want to clarify that first, because just like Mike Hernandez said, don't get stuck on the minutia on the science. Make it duplicatable, because that was one of the first things when I got into the business, and I overcomplicated it, and then ended up I was the only one doing presentations because nobody could duplicate what I did. So anyway, the significance of the gene expression, or the resetting in 4,000 genes. Now understand, copper peptides have the most scientific evidence of all peptides and supplements to influence gene expression, which genes are what communicate to the cells on what the cells need to do. We have cells, our brain cells, we have muscle cells, we have nerve cells. The genes are what tell it what it's going to do. And as we start to grow older, that communication gets dysfunctional, and it's called epigenetic drift. And so it starts to miscommunicate to each other, and so things start to go backwards, because our cells that break down the body start to override the ones that build the body. So that's where we start to end up with osteopenia, osteoporosis, sarcopenia, like you're losing muscle mass. Our body starts to break down faster than it rebuilds. So when we have the ability to influence and reset those genes, that gene expression, it starts, like we talk about, is it starts to communicate as if we were younger. So we start to build more than we break down. So the significance and David Schmidt talks about, it's not just anti-aging, it's actually rebuilding. And it's truly that way, because this is true biohacking, natural biohacking in our body, which is significant, and everything's out there. That's why people are looking for all these different peptides, but we have something that's natural from the inside out. And like Dr. Priestman was talking about, is that our body knows how to communicate more effectively when it's produced from the inside out. And so that significant impact that's why, I mean, you guys are amazed. One patch has so many different benefits and affects so many different challenges that we experience. It's because that cell communication is making a difference and is allowing our body to rebuild and regenerate at a healthier fashion at a younger state. Hopefully that was compliant, but not over your guys' head.
Wow.
Is that too much?
And again, Dr. Tony, this is exactly what we want this panel to be, to let you see what you've got your hands on. We want you to break out of here being unstoppable. A big part of that being unstoppable is your belief level in what we have in this X39. The more belief and confidence you got in what it can do and this kind of credibility, the more you can go out and make this happen. And of course, we're going to put this doctor's panel after we make sure everything is compliant. Put it out so that you can share with your prospects and any doctors that you meet, but mostly people that do want the help, but they want to hear from a doctor's point of view. So thank you for sharing. Okay, I met Dr. Pamikder in Las Vegas, right? Is that where we met?
Even before.
Even before.
In Anaheim.
In Anaheim, okay.
In Anaheim last year, my
Right.
wife and I had only been in the company for 4 months.
Yeah, so we met and we got history already and we're having a great time. And you know, when you connect with people, this is when you really start. Like you and I us guys just met just recently, right? So doctor, where does and tell us what kind of practice you've got.
Yeah, my name is Ed Pamikder. I was an anesthesiologist for 23 years. So Rachel and I are the two anesthesiologists that everybody's saying you guys have to meet each other. I left anesthesia 4.5 years ago, and now I practice health optimization medicine, which really kind of goes foundationally, saying you're created in the image of God. I, as a doctor, cannot outsmart that. So my job is to help you figure out what's missing that we need to get back in, and what's in there that we should be getting out.
Wow. And I personally believe this is the lazy man's way of getting healthy. I mean, you just put a patch on. I mean, I have to admit, sometimes I want to be lazy. So, I mean, it's nice to just put that patch on. Out of anything else you could take, you can't get any easier than this. Even if you forget to take it off, that's still pretty lazy. You forget, still working, maybe for a couple more hours. Tell us, where does X39 fall in among all the things that a person can do for their health?
So as Dr. Tony was just saying with biohacking, I mean, there's not a lack of information out there now. I think we're all inundated with a lot of different options for things that we can do for our health. So what I've found in my practice is one of the biggest challenges is getting people to do something consistently. And I think that's a challenge. It certainly is for me, but I think for all of us. So what I look at interventions is I'm looking for things that are foundational. And actually, Renita and Scott's slide covered a lot of, a huge amount of that. And then when I look at other interventions, I'm looking at something that is stupid simple to utilize, that does not take a lot of time, and that somebody can do for the rest of their life, but also that has a very, very broad interaction. Because a lot of the things that we spend a lot of time listening to or reading about have a very narrow scope of efficacy. And so for me, the X39 patch, the GHK copper peptide, I ignored it for 2.5 years because it sounded like snake oil to me, because it was supposed to do so many different things, and I did not understand what the technology was. But now it makes sense to me, and so it changed the way I practice medicine.
Wow. And that did sound simple and long-term, incredible. And you're in Scott Renita's organization, right?
Yep, Scott.
Yeah, that's exciting. So we see a big line of different organizations here, up here, and that's exciting. Let me give you another question. What do you say when someone asks if X39 will help with a specific issue?
So when people ask about, is it going to help with this or that, I say, I don't know. What I understand is the mechanism that LifeWave has in its research, that you put this patch on, we go back a week later, we can see the elevation of the GHK copper peptide in your bloodstream. Now you can individually then go to a search engine and look up GHKCU and whatever the issue is that you're curious about, and see what's in the conventional literature about what that peptide does for that problem. But this is, again, trusting your body to utilize this endogenous peptide production to do what it needs to do. It's not overthinking it. This goes into the protocols. I could come up with a lot of complicated stuff for you to do, but your body and the miracle that we are is much more powerful than me overthinking things.
Do you ever have anyone say that they're skeptical to use it, and what would you say to someone like that?
Yeah, so I have certainly lots of people that are skeptical. I mean, I was skeptical for a long time. I think the whole technology is this idea of biophotons and photobiomodulation is kind of out there for people. I also find that many people want to know the one thing that's going to help them. So, in many ways, they've rejected that reductionist paradigm. They don't want to be part of medicine that's in these little tiny cubicles, but then when it comes to their own health, they want one thing that's going to fix it. And so they say, okay, should I do hormone replacement, or should I do the peptide, or should I do the supplements? And I say, if you have a problem, you should be doing everything. because if you're 50 years old, on average, you have 1,600 weeks of life left, okay? And the last 600 of those tend to not be very good quality. Now, you have a choice. You can do things to improve your health and extend not only those number of weeks that you have left, but also reduce the number that are not going to be of high quality. So I say, do everything that you can, then worry about doing the experiment of figuring out what was it that was solve the problem. Start taking things away. But frankly, the X39 patch, I strongly encourage people to use it. I say it's changed my practice. I was a one-patch wonder. I'm thankful for that because I probably wouldn't have worn a second patch if that hadn't been the case.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome.
All right. Dr. Vinoy, let's go back to you. What do you say to patients that are skeptical in your practice? I'm so surprised you guys gave me this. You actually told me to ask this question because when a doctor that I believe in, that I'm going to, if I'm going to you, I believe in you. When they tell me to do something, I listen. But obviously you guys are getting some patients that are very pushing off and skeptical about the X39. Tell us what you say.
So I welcome skepticism because that means people are paying attention and they're asking the right questions.
Great.
If you're not skeptical, then I wonder if you have functional capability. We should question the things that we put in our body or on our body. And so when someone is skeptical, I tell them, look, this is not about believing something blindly. Okay? As an optometrist, I don't want you to be blind anyway, but not believing something blindly, it's about being open to a treatment that has. We've watched how the body responds, and we can see that there's a real scientific basis for why the body is responding the way that it is responding. So phototherapy is not about a dramatic overnight change. So we're not expecting these people to have something happen overnight. One-patch wonders happen, but it's not realistic. And supportive therapies are not necessarily something that just announce themselves overnight. And that's the nature of what we're talking about, biohacking your body and actually doing the work of getting yourself in health. So the research in the photobiomodulation space is just increasing. We're seeing increased mitochondrial function, decreased inflammation, and the support for tissue repair, and all of the eye-related studies that are happening right now in photobiomodulation. I just did a continuing education Zoom kind of continuing education call about photobiomodulation where it's related to the retina. And so it is now being researched in mainstream medicine as well. So this is not out of the realm of possibility. So people are paying attention because there are things being released by the FDA right now that actually are treating the eye through photobiomodulation. And so this is not something that's outside of the realm of what we would normally see. And so I would never promise anyone a cure, or that they would, and also I wouldn't dismiss the fact that the mechanism is happening. We don't have to always know exactly what the mechanism is. How many times have you heard on a drug that they say, well, we're not really sure what the mechanism of action is, but we're still going to, we know it's doing something. And so we see that all the time in pharmaceutical products where they don't even know what the mechanism is, but it's still being used. So I would love for my patients to be skeptical about this. So.
Yeah, that's a good, give her a hand. Those are some great answers for us to understand. Dr. Rachel, can you explain what's going on when some people say they're not that they're experiencing side effects? We have people that say that. Tell us what's happening or what they're experiencing.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, this is something that if you can raise your hand, who gets that from people when they share? Yeah, a lot of people. And I will say that one thing that is misunderstood in medicine, and we call symptoms as bad and that things are broken in the body, is actually an adaptation mechanism. It's our bodies trying to help us to survive, right? So it's adapting to what the environment is, how our body's being affected by our environment. And our body's constantly healing. We are constantly in a state of healing and renewed growth. And in that, just like one of the analogies that I will use is, for example, your fridge. Who leaves things in the fridge and it goes to the back, and sometimes it starts to grow things until you actually go in there and you don't really want to touch what's there. But you got to clean it out, right? And so our body is like that with cells. The cells are constantly functioning, we've got 100,000 reactions going on in every single cell every second of the day. There's a lot of things that build up that we have to excrete and byproducts and get out of the body. And when we're sick, we actually have a lot more stuff building up that needs to get out of the body. And we have different ways of eliminating that. We breathe out toxins. We've got our liver that detoxifies things, our bowels, our urinary, our blood, and so on. And oftentimes when we're sicker, those things aren't necessarily working as well or as efficiently as they would be if we're healthy. And so when we have, say, slow elimination, then we might feel those things in our body and think that something's actually wrong. And so it's a matter of supporting being able to rid those from our body and enhancing and supporting those ways of eliminating them. And so one of the things that I tell people is really, and many people might have heard this already, is to reduce the time that you're wearing the patches. Everybody experiences this if they experience it at a different time, a different level, and so everyone needs a different amount of support. And I will say another analogy, so this is really, in medicine, I've watched when I was through my residency a lot of the technical jargon being explained to patients and their eyes just glaze right over. And for me, when I started to practice, I really wanted to make sure patients understood what I was saying. And so I like to give analogies that people can understand. And one of them is like a swimming pool. And so you can see if you've got a layer of sediment on the bottom, but it looks like a nice clear pool. So it looks clean. So everything looks healthy, just like in your body. You might not be experiencing any symptoms. But the minute you start to, you want to get rid of the sediment that's on the bottom, you got to stir it up, and then the whole pool becomes murky, but you got to get it out through the filter that's at the top. So it might look like things are getting worse, but it's because you're actually getting things out of the body.
Wow, that would be an easy analogy for me to give to the next person that has that feeling. So, and by the way, every person I've ever seen that pushed through has had remarkable results on the patch. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Tony, I'm gonna throw something at you fast. Maybe we can go a little bit quicker here with everybody to get a couple more questions. FDA approved. When somebody say, is this FDA approved? I'm always laugh at this because Danny the other day was saying to me, you know, somebody will grab a beef jerky and chow that down, but then they're worried and they don't look at nothing, just eat the beef jerky, but they want to know if the patch is FDA approved.
Well, this is not a drug or a medicine, and we're not absorbing anything, so it doesn't have to go through that regulation at all. So, no, it's not FDA approved, but it's FDA regulated through the facilities that produce the patch and the manufacturing. So it's managed by that, but it does not have to be FDA approved.
Okay, Dr. Espinazas, both of you, all right, real quick. What is GHK-Cu and so copper peptide, and why is it so important? What role does the copper peptide play in your body?
Well, just kind of like what we've heard is it helps with regulation of so many different things in your body. That peptide, that copper peptide activates some of those stem cells, activates the mitochondria, and it allows for those stem cells that are dormant to be turned on. It's kind of like you have one room. By the time you're 60, you have a 10-room house, but only one room has the lights on, and then you wonder why it doesn't really function well. Well, one of the things that we get to do is once you get the patch on, it starts to turn on a lot of lights. It just starts flicking on the light switches, and now things start looking brighter, things start looking better. And so that's why you start to get a lot of the health benefits that people are talking about. And, you know, people, we've all had the testimonies. I think that's one of the powerful things about this company and the product that we have. It's the testimonies of how the people feel on an amazing product. You cannot deny that. You know, it's one of those things people want to see. They say, show me before I believe. They want to see before they believe, and so that allows us to be able to see that from so many people that are on it.
Right, and so many physicians like Dr. Mercado, he had his testimony. I mean, this is how we're seeing Anything you want to add to this, doctor?
No, I think we've talked a lot about the copper peptide, but it does reduce inflammation. That's another big thing because inflammation causes, other diseases that we know about. But it also helps with skin tightening. I'm in the world of aesthetics, so my patients are coming in for, face lifting results, and so why not patch them up?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Again,
So that's something I think we forget about, the skin benefits.
Right, the recovery that we're
The
seeing.
recovery, the wound
Incredible.
healing as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
wound healing and scars. So, I mean, what better product? I mean,
Now, they might not want their Botox anymore.
Yep.
That is a problem.
there you go.
For me, anyway.
Yeah. So it's so a blessing to have everyone on here. Okay, let's go back to my friend from Puerto Rico, Dr. Mercado. When wearing the X39, because you're a cardiologist, tell us why people are experiencing such great heart health. We're hearing incredible testimonies, like he was talking about, many testimonies, but I'm hearing so many on the heart. Can you tell us why?
I'm passionate about cardiovascular health.
Yes.
Of course, that's my specialty. So I always recommend that exercise, diet, hydration, better sleep patterns, and stress management is a must for an excellent cardiovascular health. So what I've observed in the patients and people that I've shared this technology is that they have better energy levels, they have more exercise engagement, better sleep patterns, more stress management, less inflammation, and less pain. So all these add up to a better cardiovascular health. So that's something that's, for a physician, it's great because we all want our patients to be healthier. And as my colleagues have said, the bottom line is healthier longevity. And with X39, that's definitely a must. And it happens.
Wow. And whether it be that they have an issue or preventative, why not put on the X39? Let's go back to Dr.
Can I
Go
say
ahead.
just
Go ahead.
one quick thing? I think for a lot of us, we don't really have health care in America. We have sick care. And all of us are kind of part of that.
Yeah.
And this has allowed us to now be able to go from sick care to truly health care, which is why not prevent it before you have it? You know what I'm saying? So that's, and the great thing is you don't have to go to all the years of schooling. You guys have the power to be able to help somebody prevent, just to be, not prevent, but just to be able to feel better, look better, and be in better shape.
Yeah. Incredible. And all you got to do is patch on.
Patch.
Simple. We got Dr. Presont down there. I want to ask him another question. Tell us this, doctor. The X39, well, we all know works on a cellular level, like we've been talking this afternoon. What is a cellular level, and why can't you feel it 100% of the time? So kind of clarify a little bit what they're talking about on a cellular level, and why don't people sometimes feel it 100% right away?
Well, our cells communicate with each other by way of biophotons, which is a form of light that you can't see. And just like everyone in this room is communicating with each other with cell phones and radio waves, the cells can communicate and talk to each other and modify their activity. So cellular level affects the mitochondria. Yeah, I think we've talked about that quite enough. And when you're talking to prospects, you can get into the weeds and try to get a little too scientific. But the research is there, the papers are there on the website, and I think directing people to that is probably adequate. I mean, not many people in here know how a tuna fish sandwich works on a cellular level, and I don't think you really need to have a tuna fish sandwich. And I think with the X39 patch, knowing all the testimonials and all the positive things it does for preventative care, I think is enough to share with people.
Wow, that's great. Dr. Espinoza, you're right here. Real quick, answer this question. Do you believe doctors need this business as a financial opportunity? Yeah, if you don't mind sharing what you see.
Absolutely. I mean, we can make great incomes, but it's at the cost of time and our health generally. It's ironic how we make money at the expense of two things we can't purchase back. You can't purchase time and you can't purchase your health back. And so this gives us an ability to be able to help people get better, feel better, and it allows us to be able to get some of our time back, and it allows us to be able to get healthy ourselves. As you've heard, I feel so much better. I'm 54 years old and I feel
Wow,
great.
that's incredible.
And so, you know, it's one of those things where it's a business plan that is real. It is a real business. We have a business, and now we are not going to become the business. We're going to be a small part of a bigger business to be able to multiply ourselves. And not only do we have that ability, but you guys have the same ability, and that is so powerful.
Wow. Thank you for that. Pass it down to Dr. Tony. Real quick, do doctors need this as an exit strategy for their own financial health?
I didn't hear.
Do doctors need the financial benefits of this opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in healthcare, probably every one of us know that the expenses, you know, the overhead has gone up, and a lot of times the revenue is being cut because the reimbursement from the insurance companies are being cut significantly. And so you have to work harder, more hours in a day, or see more patients, more volume to even make ends meet. And so this is definitely an opportunity, like I like to tell the team, to tell the people, is that to help people make income for their practice, or if they're doctors, when the lights are off and the doors are closed. Because if we are not seeing patients, we are not generating income for the practice. So when you go out to, you know, to share with doctors, like, hey, if I can get 5 minutes of your time and share with you a way that you can make money and generate your practice with the lights are off and the doors are closed, and without increasing your overhead, because then you don't have to hire any additional staff, you don't have any additional overhead and expenses, and everybody should be open to that, you know, if you can just get a minute with them and show the business model of that, because there's nothing else out there like that in healthcare where you can generate that type of income. And I mean, let's be real, all the presidentials and probably some of the upper executives are making more than most traditional doctors, right? Let's be real. We're not going to talk numbers, but I don't know if that's compliant or not, but they're probably generating a lot more than most traditional doctors, right? Okay, so.
Doctors, we could talk all the rest of the afternoon. We want to thank you. Can everyone really give them a round of applause for sharing with us? Sharing, they're taking their time and sharing their knowledge with all of us. Thank all of you for sharing. One quick photo, I guess they want. Come on.